List goes on. We're out from under court order. We've very much modified our student assignment.
Hello, Lehigh. My name is James Middlebrooks, and I'm a candidate for School Board District 2. Let me briefly give you some of my credentials. I've been in this city for 41 years. I'm a resident of Lee County. I'm also a member of this city, and I will fight for your schools and for your students. My credentials are, I'm a certified professional math instructor. I've been with the Lee County school system for 41 years. I've been in every level of the school system, elementary school, middle school, high school. I've been a 12th grade counselor, assistant principal, and principal of the high school. I have been with Edison Community College, Edison College for 26 years. I ask for your vote on August 26th. Thank you and have a great night.
Good evening, Lehigh Acres. My name is Ray Rodriguez, and I'm running for the school board. And unlike Gerard David Jr., I'm not a politician, nor have I ever played one on TV. But I'm happy to be here tonight in front of you. I'll tell you who I am. I am a parent. I have a son that's in the district, who's been in the district for the past 2 years. And we have a long-term commitment to this district because we really want to see that our sub-rep gets a quality education as well as the other children in the schools. I work at FGCU as a budget manager. I think the #1 challenge facing our school district today is the ongoing budget crisis, and it will be the challenge for the next 2 to 3 years. I think the skills that I have as a budget manager at FGCU in the private sector at GE, where I spent a decade, will be useful. I'm active at GE. I was a volunteer in Michigan Elementary through their Partner in Education program as a tutor and a mentor, and for the last 5 years, the partnership coordinator. I look forward to your support on August 26th. Ray Rodriguez, Lee County School Board, District 3.
Thank you. Jeannie. Can you define what the SAT, ACT, and FCAT individually measure and how they differ? How do they differ from school grades and annual improvements?
Okay, the SAT, the ACT, and the FCAT. The FCAT is the actual test that is given at all several grade levels that determine in the 3rd grade whether a student will go on. In the 10th grade, the students begin to take it for their exit for high school graduation. As far as the SAT and the ACT, those are college tests that are actually given to see how a student scores. We are now able to use the SAT scores for students to also graduate. As far as depending on how a student actually scores on those tests is also a determining factor as far as the schools that students are invited to attend. Here in Lee County, we have a very large percentage. In fact, there was something in the paper today that talked about Lee County and how many students we have taking that test. We have more students in Lee County taking that test than just about anywhere. And as you saw, Michigan has just started inviting more students to take the test, therefore they drop down. The larger the number that you have, and when you just don't use the top 10% of the class, you're going to reduce your numbers.
Ms. Dozier pretty much said it as it is, but I'll clarify a little bit. The FCAT is a standards-based test. It really tests just what your kids know in relation to our standards. However, ACT and SAT are norm-based tests. Those are tests that are where our kids are compared against kids across the country. We do have more students taking ACT and SAT because, as Ms. Dozier explained, they have an opportunity, kids that didn't pass the FCAT have another opportunity to pass the passing score on one of those tests. So we do have many more students taking it. It used to be sort of a college-bound exam and was a determiner of how kids would do in college. Now it's a much broader-based exam.
Thank you. There's one other test that was missing, that's the PSAT. 9th and 10th graders should be taken in all schools. I suggest one thing that you be aware of. One, we are teaching to the test. I know the state has mandated that we do not teach to the test. If you teach skills, you will be able to pass any of those exams. If you teach the skills plus know how to take the exam, you will never have a problem, whether it's the PSAT, the SAT, the LCAT, or the SACT. Those, the SAT, the PSAT, the ACT, the SAT are all state mandated programs, a national mandated program that our students should be taking all the time. Most of them will not take that exam and pass it the first time, but if they do the skills that are necessary for them to have during the regular season, they will be able to have the LCAT, the SAT, the PSAT, the ACT, and have success statements on them all the time. Teach skills and you'll never have problems with students taking the exam.
The descriptions that were offered of the test earlier Ray Rodriguez. The description of the 3 tests that were offered earlier are correct. The one thing I would point out is, if you saw the article in the paper today, it was about the ACT and it was about how many students in Florida take it compared to other states. And the SAT as well, and that's true. As a state, we do test more than other areas. But you can do comparisons within the state as well. And that's where Lee County comes up short. Out of 67 districts in the state of Florida, our SAT scores rank 47 out of 67. On the ACTs, 47 out of 56 that report. The College Board will not report the score unless a set number of students take it. If you look at the ACT scores, we're 45 out of 67 there. If you look at the percentage of students that are tested, statewide it's 62%, and Lee County it's 43%. So across the state, they're testing more students and delivering higher scores than we're delivering here in Lee County. We need to do better, folks.
How do you plan to not only save the jobs of teachers, but also the staff who help run our schools? How do you plan to not only save the jobs of teachers, but also the staff who help run our schools?
Absolutely. This is a time of the state shortfall. And by the way, Jane Huckle, I'm running for re-election to the school board. There's a shortfall at the state, and that shortfall comes down to us. When we really have reduced our budget by $50 million over the last 2 years, and it's been a tough choice. We've had to lay off some people and reduce many programs. That's not easy. What we do when we have to make those decisions is to pull all the staff together, the departments, not all together at one time, of course, but departments, and then those folks in the department, they go line by line by line and look at every expenditure and justify it. And when we began that process, we developed a set of assumptions. The number one assumption was that we would stay as far away from the classroom as possible. So our initial reductions were all in our support services. You get to a point, though, where you need to move to the classroom because you have to have busing and you have to have food service and those essentials to make the school operate. It's going to be a tough choice next year if we... Sure, thank you.
I think the classroom teachers are very essential to educating our students. The name is James Middlebrooks. I think the classroom situation is very important to our students in Lee County. I think that's the very first and then the last thing that should ever be considered of dropping out. We can eliminate a lot of funding if we go to neighborhood schools. We can save a lot of dollars on busing. We don't have to have busing anymore. We have a lot of duplicated programs that's in this county. We can eliminate some of that problem also by sharing some of the same services that we offer to our schools. We are doing a lot of duplicating. Our number one responsibility is educate our students, and that should always be the first thing we ever think about around this county.
Hi, I'm Ray Rodriguez, running for School Board District District 3. 4 months ago, I appeared before the board and I presented a methodology of how funds can be shifted out of the capital area and over into operations. It's a methodology that's been utilized in Walton County and Monroe County. Walton County in 2003, Monroe County in 2004. This year, Collier County will be voting on it. Alachua County will also be voting on it, trying to utilize the same proposal. What it would do is you would lower your capital millage by a half mil voluntarily, and you would go to referendum to raise the ad valorem by a half mil. It would be a tax swap. No taxpayer would pay more, but what the district would get is flexibility to use those funds on either capital items or operations. And what it could do is be a bridge to plug these budget deficits over the next 4 years, if you believe as I do, which is that the economy will turn around in the next 4 years, and when the economy does turn around, the legislature will restore the funding to the district. Ray Rodriguez, thank you.
Jenny Dozier, the only problem with a tax swap is that if you use the capital money for operations money, that is not continuing money. And after 4 years, what do? Let those people go that you use that money for. So you have to look at that very critically, and you have to have a lot of conversations. One of the ways that we are already looking at saving jobs is we are looking at everything that takes place in the district. We are looking at it and we're giving it a test. And the test is if it's not an essential function, then that's something that we have to eliminate. We are also collapsing departments. We are continuing to look for ways to be more efficient and more effective with our operations. Any way that we can save money and save jobs, we want to do that. Because believe you me, the worst thing that a school board member can do is has to make a decision on letting employees go. We do not want to do that. We are trying to do everything. In fact, out of the 175 individuals that were let go, I want to tell you that over half of those people we have placed in other jobs. By the time school starts on Monday, we will have all those people in jobs. Thank you.
Would you be in favor of neighborhood schools, and how would you avoid a return to the de facto segregation given the demographics and the geography of Lehigh County?
Thank you, James Middlebrooks. I believe in neighborhood schools for several reasons. One, if you look at the demographics around our county now, and it's not like it used to be. Minorities, blacks, everyone has moved to any area that they can afford to. They don't have to be in one area anymore. And that has eliminated some parts of busing. Busing was mandatory then, it's not mandatory now. We should have neighborhood schools. We can eliminate at least 25% of our funding for busing right now. Our students can walk to school. They have a lot of fun. Neighborhood schools will enhance their statements to having fun and walking to schools in the morning. And believe it or not, I enjoyed that when I was a young child. But we can still enjoy neighborhood school, eliminating some forms of busing. Thank you.
Ray Rodriguez, I do support neighborhood schools. In March, the Naples Daily News published an investigation they did on the cost of busing. They found the average cost of busing in the state, the average cost of transportation per student, was $335. In Lee County, it was $554. That's 65% higher. According to their study, if we could get down to the state average, we could save $22 million. I support neighborhood schools. I think it's the right route to go. If you look at the disbursement of students within the Lee County School District, you can go to the Florida Department of Education webpage and look this up for yourself. 47% of the students in Lee County today are a minority student. So if you go to neighborhood schools, when half your district are minority anyway, you don't have to worry about resegregation. We have been lifted under the desegregation order. Pinellas County was under the same order. They went to the same choice program. They have now gone back or in the process of transitioning to neighborhood schools, and they've still maintained their unitary status. There's no reason not to do this.
Jeannie Dozier and I too agree that we need to have neighborhood schools. The only thing about that is you have to have a plan in order to do it. And here in Lake County, we do have a plan that's called a choice plan. We continue to look at that plan on a regular basis. We look at that plan and we improve upon that plan. We began with 3 zones. We now have 9 zones in the county. We are up to look at it again this year. Any way that we can drill down and get students closer and closer to their homes, we do. My opponent talks about having neighborhood schools, and he wants to go back to that. We have schools that don't have neighborhood, that you couldn't have neighborhood schools because there's no schools in them. So what would you do? Tear some of the houses down, and where would you want your house torn down? You know, that's one of the things that we have to look at. We have neighborhoods literally that do not have schools in them. So how can you have neighborhood schools if you don't have schools that exist there? Also, I would remind you that the choice plan is something that 70% of the parents actually choose schools that are away from their home instead of close to their home because of the programs that are offered.
Well, first of all, I'd like to correct some inaccurate information. Our State Department of Education website says that the Lee County cost for transportation last year was $1,042 as opposed to the state average of $901, not the difference that was quoted before. There are a couple issues with neighborhood schools from my perspective. First of all, I would never approve anything that would permit us to go back to segregated schools, and we do have some areas where that might be the case. Secondly, when you're in a growing district and you build a school in this area, you have neighborhood schools, you have to redistrict every school within that area, and so people are voluntarily moved from one school to another. And if you want to see angry parents when they're moved 2 or 3 times during an elementary program, they get very angry about that.
The numbers that were quoted by my opponent are actually correct if you're looking at an aggregate total. The study that the Naples Daily News did was specific on busing. And busing is what I'm looking at because that's what having school choice is driving the cost up for. And if we go back to neighborhood schools, we can save and reduce the cost of busing. I would wrap up my last 30 seconds with this. I'm a parent, I'm a budget manager, I'm a volunteer in the district. I have a long-term commitment to this district. I believe in it. I think the skills that I have will be an asset to the board at this time. And I guess I'll do what some of the other candidates have done. I'd ask you to read the endorsements. I've been endorsed by the Cape Coral Breeze. I've been endorsed by the Lehigh Daily News. And I'm honored to be the only school board candidate who have been endorsed by BUPEC. I hope that you'll take a look at my website, isayray.com, and on August 26th, present me with your endorsement. Thank you.
James Middlebrooks, candidate for School District 2. Keep in mind that the election is going on right now. You can vote this past Monday up to the 23rd, and on the 26th you must vote in your own precinct. I am your candidate for District 2, School Board of Lee County. I am the candidate that will bring us into the next millennium. I am the candidate that will help you do exactly what you want us to do, and that educate your kids. I am the person that will help you make the right decisions for our students in Lee County. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane Cockle again, and I'm running for re-election actually for my 3rd term. I also have an education background, teacher, principal, assistant superintendent here in this district. And when I retired, folks talked me into running for the board. I'm very passionate about education. I'm in our schools all the time. I do my homework. I'm a good problem solver. In fact, people kind of tagged me in the very beginning as the voice of reason, and so now I use it on my campaign signs. I work very hard for this district, will continue to do so. We've had phenomenal gains in every aspect of district operation over the last several years, and we're on a roll. The superintendent's theme this year is CSI. Now, you know that show, but for him, it's continual systemic improvement, and that's our mantra every day. Thank you very much. Jane Couple.
My name is Jeannie Dozier, and I have been on the school board since 2000, and I hope that you will see fit to re-elect me for this term. I have served as your candidate, and I will continue to do the same. I also invite you to look at the endorsements. I have received all of the endorsements that I have applied for, that I have interviewed for. I want to introduce a young lady in the audience, Antonia, and Antonia is a student of ours. Stand up, Antonia. And I'm going to take some of my time to recognize her as well as the other students that are here in the audience. I applaud you for being here and wanting to be a part of the political process. Antonia has gone one step farther. She is putting together a campaign, and it is for stability on the school board, and that was what I would urge you to keep. There was a time when stability didn't exist here in Lee County. Stability is something that is needed if you continue to have change and continue to have improvement. In 1999, only 14 schools before I was elected received A and B. This year, 87% of our schools received A and B. We are doing some things right. We still have a lot of challenges, and we will fix those too. Vote Jeannie Dozier, August 26th. Thank you.
Sheriff candidate. Okay, we'll start with Christian Meisner. Okay, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, Christian Meister. I'm candidate for Sheriff of Lee County. I'm Austrian. My age is 40. I'm the only candidate for Lee County Sheriff who is also a veteran of the United States military. In fact, I have protected the national security interest in the United States military. And if I can do the job in the federal government, okay, I can certainly do a good job for the people in Lee County. I've been trained to work in law enforcement, and I'm a Florida State Certified Officer. I'm certified with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The people in the unincorporated areas deserve the same security protection that the people in the incorporated areas. The question is, should we focus on writing tickets for minor traffic violations, or should we be tough on crime with the people who commit the real crimes? This is Christian Meister. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Mike Scott, and I approve this message, and I'm asking you to approve it on August 26th. 4 years ago, the voters in this county delivered a mandate for change at your sheriff's office, and I believe I've delivered that change. We need to look no further in Lehigh Acres than the drug interdiction, intense, aggressive focus. You know, in January of 2000, my opponent received information from the National Drug Intelligence. This is the report. And on page number 1, it talks about the 2 top states in the country for indoor cultivation of cannabis. California number 1 and Florida number 2, specifically Southwest Florida. So in his 4-year term in office, they detected and dismantled a grand total of 9 marijuana grow houses in Lehigh Acres. That's what we inherited in 2004. And since I've been your sheriff, we've shut down 178 marijuana grow houses, doors off the hinges, people in jail. We're not going to tolerate it. Again, I approve this message, and I need your support on August 26th. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Ron Shope. I'm your former sheriff. I have 27 years of law enforcement experience, management, leadership at all levels. I've been a patrol deputy, I've been a sergeant, a detective sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, a major, and the sheriff. I'm a graduate of the FBI Academy. I'm a graduate of Southern Police Institute. I'm a graduate of the School of Industrial and Labor Relations at Cornell University. I'm a former Lehigh Acres resident. I lived off Joel behind Ike's Pizza and Sunshine TV. I volunteer camped here, or horseback rode here. When I was your sheriff, the crime was down, the budget was down. In fact, my budgets were all passed unanimously without any bickering, without any fighting. It all got done. I was never capped like this last year. Elect me again, and I'll do that for you again. I had to talk fast. It was good, though. The grow houses weren't here. I'm glad I got 9 of them. That stopped them. They didn't come back. They didn't come back till late in 2005. That's when the Florida Highway Patrol started hitting them, and DEA. Thank you.
The number of marijuana grow houses being shut down for the current administration, that is not enough. Because when we shut one down, another one goes up. You have to know, bet the time When we begin to focus our investment into our children, when we give the children real skills, life skills that they need so they can stay out of trouble and they can stay out of jail, that is when the crime will go down. The rest is propaganda. Secondly, the unincorporated areas deserve the same security protection than the incorporated areas, and I already said that. My time is up. I should talk to you for 2 hours about the vision I have and the vision of the current administration, which is severely lacking, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christian Meister, and I'm a veteran of the United States military. Thank you.
Again, Mike Scott, your Lee County Sheriff, and I believe the main problem continues to be in virtually any community USA, drugs. And again, that's why I take you back to this aggressive, intense focus that we have on that. Drugs typically are the root of most all evil in the community. The wraparound crimes of opportunity like burglary and theft, things of that nature, are invariably tied to the drug trade, as is violent crime. And so it's economics 101, folks. It's supply and demand. As long as we in this country, not we in this room, I hope, but we in this country have this insatiable appetite for drugs, someone's going to bring it here. If we don't have somebody standing the line, that last bastion of defense against this poison in our community, that person being me and the 1,500 men and women I'm so proud to serve with, it's going to continue to come in. It can't come in unabated like it had for so long. People can't get comfortable in a community like they did in Lehigh for so long. Trust me on this one. The drug dealers are not comfortable in Lehigh Acres right now.
Well, trust me on this one. The drug dealers are happy to be here because they're still here. Rod Choke is my name. They're still here. He hit them in 2006. He hit them in 2007. He's going to hit them in 2008. They're just going to keep coming. The number one crime you have here is burglary theft. They're 82% of all crime, not just here, but all across the country. It's that way everywhere. By the way, across the United States, crime went down 2%. In Collier went down. In Charlotte it went down. Why did it go up here so dramatically? In fact, it's at 3,000 felonies per year right now. So we can do something about that. And by the way, the drug houses are an issue, and I congratulate everyone who hit them, PEA, everybody. I Cape Coral Police Department detective wrote search warrants to hit them, so I know the Clean Task Force hit them as well. He didn't hit them all, and there are still more. But I can tell you that if we stop the burglaries and thefts, those are the crimes that lead to drugs. It's not the other way around. Thank you.
With the budget shrinking, do you believe that the Sheriff's Office is spending too much time in assessing lenders in the foreclosure process?
I'll yield part of the time on that question to the previous comment. How do you think people get the money to buy these drugs? They steal, they commit burglary. So you shut them down, and it again leads to those wraparound crimes. The question dealt with foreclosure. We see breaking news today where, unfortunately, Lee County leads the nation in foreclosure. This will continue to be a challenge for us as the economy continues to spiral. Clearly, that presents an extra pressure on law enforcement. We want to work and continue to work closely with code enforcement for these vacant homes that are in foreclosure. It may not become a hangout for gang activity, for drug activity, for juvenile crime, and the like. It is critically important that the Sheriff's Office maintain that posture because in some cases, a vacant home that's in disrepair is not illegal by our standards, but it might be out of compliance in terms of code enforcement. So as long as we can continue to forge that good working relationship with code enforcement, I believe we can make a difference and hopefully keep this problem at bay.
Budgeting is going to be an issue for a very long time. Last night, Rod Choke is my name, sorry. Last night, my opponent said, oh, hopefully ad valorem taxes will be back where they are by next year. That's not true. In fact, I work in a bank. I work with federal regulators, same work every day. I'm a contractor and I work for banks. So I know what they do. It's going to be 5 to 10 years before our property values get back to where they were, where we have some kind of substantial balance and the ad valorem tax returns the way it was. That means we have to be budgeteers. We have to know what we have to deliver in the way of service, and we have to know how we're going to pay for it. That's what it requires of the sheriff. It's not about guns and all those kinds of things and locking everybody up. It's about using your resources to the maximum, getting the most effective service out of the money that we have. That's why when I was your sheriff, I had 4 budgets, all unanimously cut or approved. They were never cut, not even a penny. We worked well together. You have to build a consensus and be a team. It's a big team event between the citizens, the county commission, and your sheriff. Thank you.
voters of Lehigh County. We have Christian Meister. We have a lot of people who are sitting in jail today. Some of them, up to 50%, are sitting in there on driver license offenses. Again, are we going to spend our tax money, $30,000 a year per inmate, on housing people who get pulled over and they have a driver license issue? Or are we going to focus on the real crime, the burglaries, the home invasions, the rapes and the robberies? There's always going to be some budget constraints, and we can cut in different areas. Yes, we can have more marked cars because they serve as a visual deterrent. So there would be home invader is not, think about it twice to go into a particular home. Marked cars are good. So budget this, okay, it's a bunch of numbers. We get with the budget director and work it out. But the current administrations, we have issues in the jail system, and I'm just touching on the very beginning of this, which you all do not know about. I know about this, they don't want to talk about it. I know about it because the people tell me. Christian Meister, thank you.
We will now have a wrap up and we will start with Rod.
Rod Chope is my name. Rod Chope for Sheriff. Thank you. www.rodchope.com. Please visit. Thank you all for being here. It's been a long night, and there are fairly hard seats, and you did real well. Thank you. I can tell you 4 years ago, I was endorsed by 3 newspapers, all 5 mayors, even a 6th mayor who had already gone out of office during my term, 2 state representatives, a senator, and more. It doesn't matter. What matters is your vote. I've never been endorsed by a union. I don't even care. I don't want one. It's okay. I don't support unions, and they know it. So that's neither here nor there. But what does matter is your vote. And I'll work hard for you. I've worked hard for you my entire career. I won't quit now. I can lower your crime. I can do better budgeting. I can get you a prompt, courteous deputy to come when your need is there. When you call, you'll have help. And I want to thank you once again just for being here. Rod Schopp, August 26th. Thank you.
Again, Mike Scott and I approve this message, and I'm asking you to join the others who have approved this message tonight. The Naples Daily News, the Fort Myers News Press, and the Cape Coral Breeze, all 3 major papers. Why is that important? Because the media, as they should be, are the watchdogs of your elected officials. They are watching us, as they should, with a very, very close microscope. And gone are the days of negative headlines. Proudly endorsed by professional firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs in Southwest Florida, the FOP, and the PVA. If my opponent didn't want those endorsements, I wonder why he showed up at the interviews seeking them. I also want to tell you that Lieutenant Governor Cockamp endorsed my candidacy. Why is that important? Well, he's raising his child and his wife here in town. He had 4 years to watch the previous administration. He's made a decision that Mike Scott deserves another term. And lastly, Governor Charlie Crist, who mentions Lehigh Acres in his endorsement. I'm particularly proud of your efforts to fight violent crime and stop the use of grow houses. For these reasons and more, I'm proud to endorse you in your campaign for re-election as Sheriff of Lehigh County. Ladies and gentlemen, no nonsense focus. You can see through it. I'm asking for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Christian Meister. There will be a friendly officer coming to a neighborhood near you in the near future, on November 4th when you vote for me. Currently, we have an unprecedented number of law enforcement officers whom the people do not trust. We need to change this, okay? I'm also an immigrant. The current candidates, Mr. Schopp and Mrs. Scott, are not immigrants. I understand the needs of the immigrants. That means I understand your needs, because we live in a community with immigrants. So we have to deal with the whole thing. We have to understand all the needs, the immigrant needs and non-immigrant needs. We need to make a change, ladies and gentlemen. And the complaints of the residents in this community need to be addressed immediately. You can do that November 4th. I will be out there, I will be the sheriff who will talk to the people, and we're going to make a change. And I promise I will be a good sheriff.